Hi everyone. My name is Lisa. I'm the moderator of this discussion. And I get that we should wait like a few minutes, like 4 minutes for the guests. So there are a few rules in this discussion. So the first one, please turn off your cameras and mute. It's just essential because we need to have internet stable. And for speakers, you turn on your camera when you are speaking. And when you want something to say. Before that, please turn off your cameras. So dear guests, please mute your sound. So let's start. Hi everyone again. My name is Lisa. I am the moderator of this discussion. So welcome to the session on organizational and consumer psychology under new normalcy. So it's not a secret that 2020 caused a dramatic shift in all spheres. So now we face brave new world, and so it contains everything new. New normalcy, new normal customer, new ethics, and of course, new challenges for HR management. But still, there is a factor that will be the same for the decades. So I mean the march of generations. So our discussion will be divided in 3 acts, like a play. And the first act is about generations and business psychology. We have 2 presentations by our brilliant speakers, and then our expert, Evgenia Shames, will have a short Q&A session. So let the show begin. So now I want to introduce the first speakers. So millennials represent nearly 15% of the workforce, according to PricewaterhouseCoopers recent research. So that's why millennials is a headache of HR managers and marketing specialists and so on. And the first presentation is gonna be on millennials and their behavior in new normalcy. Alona and Sabrina, let's start.
So good morning, everyone. Glad to see you.
Good morning. Nice to see you.
Today we're going to speak on the topic of millennials' organizational behavior.
And about new normalcy. Is it into alienation or collaboration?
So let's start. During the last 2 years, organizational behavior of millennials had to meet dramatic changes. New reality or the new normalcy caused a complete shift in the work-life balance of Russian millennials, forcing them to the alienated life. The aim of our study is to investigate millennials' behavior and what like the post-COVID future is going to be for them. We made a theoretical research and highlighted millennials' key generational values. The empirical part included a survey that was held among 58 students of IBS Ranepa, having nearly the same socio-cultural background. The results of our study showed a significant change in the way millennials see the present. The digital world nowadays seems to be a more convenient place as for the working environment. At the same time, the generation admits they do not feel like being a part of the society anymore. As a result, identification crisis was reinforced with the self-isolation during working and studying hours. Such actions may not only modify their generational values, but also cause some serious changes in the structure of society.
According to the most famous classification of generations made by Howe and Strauss, millennials are the young people who were born between 1983 to 2002. Besides age-related similarities, millennials have distinctive generational values, such as a need for a work-life balance, constant professional growth, value of time, and collaboration. The importance of the last one is often underestimated, though in fact it can be considered as a core value when it comes to the organizational psychology of millennials. Therefore, we can assume that millennials are people who have a spirit of collectivism. They are always striving to unite and working jointly toward the same goal. However, the situation over COVID-19 has become a tough challenge for the Generation Y. For more than a year, under a severe self-isolation policy, Russian society was forced to live in a solitude. The opportunities provided by the internet were rather salvation that helped to ignore the withdrawal of a physical contact for millennials. Such circumstances taught millennials how to win off teamwork morals and separately implement their objectives. This setting is the exact moment when a new reality and personal values of the Gen Y are coming into a conflict. Pandemic far-reaching effects introduce millennials to the VUCA world, which means volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity world of the new general background. And that's where the drama between new normalcy and the Generation Y begins.
So we conducted a survey to find out more about how millennials feel, where their preferences changed. In the first question, a majority of the students answered that they felt a scarcity in real-life communication. While answering our second question, participants proved our assumption about the necessity of the belonging sense. It was admitted that they no longer feel like being a part of an educational or working process. Most of the students also couldn't identify their place in society during the lockdown. Thus, the period of self-isolation dramatically reinforced their identification crisis.
The next question was dedicated to the importance of millennials to be the part of an international and global processes. These factors are perceived by millennials as elements of the success and the ability to be modern. It is need to be said that the transition from a physical to a virtual world was not quite successful. On the contrary, millennials are confessing about their dedication to the direct participation in such processes.
The topic of communication scarcity was brought back again when more than 70% of students answered that because of the lockdown, their attachment to the internet and the digital world in general has increased. Therefore, our theory has been confirmed. The higher mobile lifestyle of digital nomads doesn't allow to establish stable social connections for long-term collaboration. In the end, one of the questions showed since study in work have been transferred to the network for some time, many respondents see their approximate existence mostly in the digital space.
To draw the final conclusion, it should be said that during the research, our aim has been achieved by theoretical and empirical methods. The hypothesis of how millennials feel themselves in the society, how they interact with their colleagues during the pandemic has been complied. Therefore, the result is that millennials are living in alienation, but they are striving for collaboration. The next slide is dedicated to our contacts, and the final slide is about references. Thank you all for your attention.
So thank you, Alona and Sabrina, for your presentation. So there are 3 minutes for questions. So I guess that you, colleague from University of Warsaw, has something to ask.
I've got one question. Are you millennials? And as far as right now there is a COVID-19 pandemic, and I suppose you study mostly through internet. Do you feel, as millennials, I don't know whether you are millennials anymore, do you feel that your work-life balance is really, there is some problem about it? Or you are actually enjoying digital classes, not having to go to university?
That's a good question. Thank you. Actually, yes, we are millennials. And when we were conducting this survey, we also took part in. And to be honest, yes, it is true. We really felt this shift in a work-life balance. And it was really hard to find the balance we're talking about. And we believe that nowadays we need to create a new mindset for the current situation. As the digital world is not that easy, I would say. I think all of us had some problems. We felt tired, maybe stressed. And when your reality, when your home chorus mix with your study, it's not easy. So we need a new mindset. That's it.
And besides, as we mentioned in our report, that the main values of millennials is work-life balance, and besides a way to find communication with your colleagues, with your teammates, and so on. And during the pandemic, yes, such values were in the difficult position because they were almost in danger, because we were in solitude. We have no possibilities to communicate directly. We didn't have an opportunity to talk about some really important things from eye to eye. And yes, it's really very stressful.
Okay, thank you. I actually feel the same. There was no word beer with colleagues inside this answer, but I suppose this is because this is a scientific conversation. But I spent 2 years on my master studies, and I've seen my colleagues for like 4 months, and I couldn't really connect with them.
Mm-hmm.
So agree. It's not that easy. So thank you. So thank you very much for that insightful research and presentation. So for me as millennial, it was really important to have a look on the problem like this. Besides millennials, we have another like buzzword in the generation theory and in all spheres. So everyone is talking about Generation Z, Zoomers, and so on. So now Zoomers are small, they're kids, they're teenagers. But these kids are not the childish, so they already enters the business world. So, and Greg Simborowski, our colleague from University of Warsaw, has something to say about it. So Great.
Yeah, and
Let's
I will
say.
tell you a little bit more about people who actually don't feel that they are trapped in a digital world. They are actually using chances created by digital world, and they actually often tell me that they don't. This is not sad for them. They are not going to school. They don't see the difference. But before I will tell you more about that, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Grzegorz Simborowski. I'm a student of Faculty of Management, University of Warsaw, and I'm conducting my master thesis about adolescent entrepreneurs. And we all know that economy is going to change, and gig economy, digital economy is going to be a vital part of our world. And I think as a millennial, I don't have a good answer to that, but the Generation Z and those teenagers, they actually have. And they are inspiring, and they can learn us, they can teach us a lot. So the first question and the first problem is whether, and I even have an emoji for that, is that are there any young people under 18 years old who actually do some entrepreneurial activities? Because when we think about entrepreneurship, we think about starting company, we think about having a bank account full of money, we think about paying taxes, about creating something extraordinary, new, creating new offices and so on. And I can assure you that this is not longer true. And there are a lot of young people who do their entrepreneurial activities when they are teenagers. And actually, I can tell you my private story behind that, because I make my living from being a private tutor, and I speak with a lot of youngsters, with a lot of teenagers, and we talk a lot about their friends, about their loved ones. And I was surprised because a lot of them actually were telling me about some entrepreneurial activities, and it was a lot of them. So I thought that maybe I should dig into this problem, into this case. And I actually did that. I've started a research, my master physics research, and I wanted to define and capture the essence of adolescent entrepreneurship. So of the people under 18 years old, and I've reached already 9 participants. I've made some semi-structured interviews with them. They were like 1.5 hours each. And I've asked them a lot of questions, not only about their ventures, but about their life, about their families, about their attitude to school, to digital medias, and so on. And I can assure you, the next generation has arrived, and Tapscott made this term for the people who were millennials, but actually it was later reconceptualized into Generation Z, because the real digital natives are the people who are born after 95, so before the 21st century, a little bit before. And the millennials, they are actually digital immigrants. And I've made those interviews, and I would like to share some 3 cases with you before I will tell you more about how they actually overcome those limitations. So the first case is actually Ola. Ola is 14 years old, and she is a manga and video game lover. She reads a lot of manga, she plays a lot, and she connects with friends through Discord. And Discord is kind of a internet communicator for young people who are gamers, because it is based on team speaking, and they connect through Discord while playing online games. And she started her own venture as a video editor because she was approached by one of the teenage YouTubers, and she started that, and she does that, and she contacts with customers through the Discord, and they don't even physically know each other. They don't ever saw each other. So this is really interesting. And this is the same with the boy. I don't remember his name, so I will call him Olaf. And Olaf is a streetwear and footwear enthusiast. And he actually buys shoes from limited collections and resells them after. And he started when he was 15 years old. Now he's 18 years old, and he already had a problem with tax administration because starting as a teenager, he didn't know he has to actually pay some taxes. So he was asked to pay some of them. And he also sells those sneakers only online through Facebook and Vinted. There are groups of streetwear fans, and he approaches them with the offer. He approaches those fans through Vinted, and this is a marketplace for clothes, and he sells those footwear there. And the third case is a girl. She's actually a social entrepreneur, and she started when she realized that there is a problem that backpacks of children are too heavy. So she thought that maybe we should create backpacks with helium bags inside, so they will be lighter. And of course, it was an idea of 10 years old girl, but so it was impossible to create. But she made her own Facebook page, and after her own LinkedIn page, and she suddenly became very popular. So right now, she changed her own venture because she educates about diversity of people around the world by making conference about what's inside the backpacks of children from other countries. And she actually don't meet those people. They meet on Zoom. She's using extensively LinkedIn to ask adults to write some letters for her, to create some visuals for her. So she asks other people by digital media to help her, non-profit without any profit. And she's very successful at that. So what can we learn from them? What can we learn from those Generation Z teenagers as millennials or maybe baby boomers? And we should forget about all divisions. They don't really divide online friendships from real life friendships. This is the same for them. They can think that their best friend can be an online friend, and they don't have a problem about that. They don't have division between business and personal contacts. They think this is the same because they have passion that drives them into this business. And they don't really think about money. Money is the side effect of their passion. So of course they can earn a lot, and it happens to those young teenagers, but they don't think only about money. They think about values and about social contacts, digital social contacts. And we can learn from them that there are digital passions we can explore. For example, for my generation, for millennials, and for people like me, online gaming wasn't a way of life. For them, online gaming can be a job. Being a YouTuber can be a job. And they don't have this division between being a lawyer and being an online gamer. This is, even being an online gamer is much more funnier for them. And this is very important that they can redefine themselves. Because they are teenagers and they are finding their identities, they are actually looking for some, they are actually shifting their identities. If their passion changes, they changes their own businesses, their own entrepreneurial activities. For example, I had one boy who told me that his mother bought him a cotton candy machine. He was selling cotton candy, this kind of sweet white foam. but he wasn't satisfied about that because it was given by his mother. But he's a cosplay fan, so he started wearing a Deadpool costume. So he was wearing a comic costume, selling those cotton candies just to make it his own. And their ventures often changes in time. We need some more longitudinal studies about that, but I can see that some of those teenagers actually changes their identities through this process of entrepreneurship. Should we worry about them? Because as millennials, we are really afraid about flexibility of world instability. And I can tell you that we shouldn't, and we should learn from them, because actually they know how to utilize chances that are created by digital and gig economy. They are not using, for example, Uber. They are creating their own gig economy for Discord, Facebook, LinkedIn, and so on. So we can learn from them how to utilize chance, not how to overcome limitations. So I would like to thank you very much for your attention. It's a pity I cannot talk you more about my research and about more cases, but I hope it will be inspiring for you. Thank you very much. See you.
So Greg, thank you very much for your presentation. So there are just 3 minutes for the questions. So colleagues, do you have a question for Greg?
Yeah, we have a question. Do you think Gen Z is capable of becoming successful in entrepreneurship for a long term? Like,
Yes, one problem is that I'm not exactly sure that Generation Z is something really defined. This is one problem. I know there are teenager entrepreneurs, and they are actually doing some small businesses on like for and exploring their passions. I'm not so sure about Generation Z, but let's imagine there is something like Generation Z, and I think they can be successful because the future economy is going to be much more based on networking. So I suppose that many people wouldn't even have one solid job. They would do some small jobs in like changing their contracts and so on. And they are actually really used to that. And they are not afraid about changing their way of life. If, for example, somebody changes his own or her own passion, she can do that. And I think they can be successful because they are very flexible, and they are born in this flexibility of digital world. So I think they can be more successful than millennials because we don't have that. For example, during digital classes, many students are afraid to turn on their cameras, and Generation Z is not. Okay, they are used to using online communicators. So that's the difference, and I think they are gonna be successful.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you. So our expert is coming very soon. So let me introduce Eugenia Shamis. So she's a founder and coordinator of the research center Root Generation. So it's applied generation theory in Russian contexts. So also she is founder and CEO of Sherpa as a pro consultancy agency. So it's based on generational theory decisions. So, and also she's a co-author of trilogy, so books on generations. So she has a book on Generation X, Generation Millennium, and baby boomers. So I guess that she's coming in a few minutes. So and you will have only 15 minutes. So it's very short, really short Q&A session. So please be prepared to be brief as possible.
So we can ask a question, right? Or
no. We're just waiting for you a few seconds for Eugenia's coming.
Okay.
So yeah. But now probably you have some more.
So we can talk freely right now.
Yeah. So probably me personally is a researcher in a generational theory. So it's my research interest, and me personally is researching millennials' organizational behavior. So their behavior on job market. So millennials is called like job hopping generation. So that's why there are a headache for all HRs. So that's why big stakeholders such as corporation take lots of money, lots of resource to do that. So, and if you're interested in this topic, please check the reports of PwC, Deloitte, and other consultancy agencies like, I don't know, Gallup, it's something else. So probably, guys, you have some question to guys, to Gregs, to Alana and Sabrina, to the girls, because it's such a hot topic. So I guess that we have just 2 more minutes to talk freely on the topics. I was afraid that we have just too short time for this. So probably anyone want to join
and talk
us.
about how COVID changed our life, and it would be if everybody would start speaking some negative feedback, as it is always with COVID.
Yeah.
Why do you actually believe that it's negative? Yeah, hi. Well, actually, I would like just to add something that for me, COVID was not that bad. Actually, I've been really grateful for this online era that we've experienced because, well, for me, it's rather convenient to work distantly, so not in an office and not commuting to my university every day. So I found in COVID just the pluses. And I actually started to practice a lot of different meditations and yoga and so on and so it was very interesting, and unless we had COVID, I wouldn't have enough time for that. So for me, COVID was just okay.
So thank you. But I guess that so I did 3 years ago a research on Fomo and millennials and how Fomo affects millennials' turnover, so their organizational behavior like this. Now Fomo is bigger, stronger. So, but it actually affects millennials because they face like self-identification crisis, and they have too many choices now, and that's why they fear of missing out actually in opportunities. So, and that's a problem. It's a frustration in all spheres. Yeah, for some people, like individuals are different, but in general, for millennials, it's really stressful. And during lockdown, as far as I know, the mental health of millennials worsen, so it became worse.
I would say that digital studies are fun until you get depression. So I really like it's really convenient, but at some point it completely affects the emotions when you realize that you don't see people for many days, and
So yeah, that's true. So our experts, so Eugenia Shamis is here, I guess. So Eugenia, welcome. Welcome to
Thank
our
you so much.
discussion.
Thank you so much, guys. Glad to see you.
So let me introduce you. So Eugenia Shamis is a founder and coordinator of the research center Regenerations. She's also founder and CEO of Sherpa Espro Consultancy and co-authors of the trilogy on generations. There are 3 books on millennials, on Generation X, and on baby boomers. So they're amazing.
Thank you.
They're available. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm like Elizaveta has said, I'm an entrepreneur and a founder. I'm also a co-founder of the international workshop in Brazil, Innovation and Clusters. Besides this, and last year I became the investor and partner, and so joined the rows of serial entrepreneurs. So I'm the investor in the company Black Pine, and this is production of knitwear clothing for women. Not mass market, but middle and upper middle class pricing. So this is from this point of view, but here I think we are going to speak on the part which is connected with my main business currently, with the consulting company Sherpa S Pro and our research center Regenerations. So with Regenerations, I founded it in 2002. So this year it's 19 years of existence, and we will have a jubilee the coming year. And I'm very proud that together with my business partner, Evgeny Nikonov, who is also a co-author of the books, we made it one of the top 10 research centers in the area in the world. Not just in Russia, we are absolutely number 1. We have over 5,500 group research on generations, and in the world, it's very honorable to be among the leading institutions in this area.
So we have few questions. So we will try to be as brief as possible. So colleagues, we have only 15 minutes for that. So I'll start with the first question. Go for it.
And I'm sorry, I just finished one workshop and I'm going, like after you, it became a crazy day because it's a preparation of Gentech Festival. And then I'm going for the conference at EY, Ernst & Young. Where I'm a speaker or exactly on the issue of research and consultancy and business and how this is connected and how this is linked to the universities and what's happening.
So thank you for your precious time. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. That's, what I would say, and that's something you need to remember. You do what you think is important. I teach as a guest professor twice a year with the students of Ranepa. And I think this is my input for the better country, better world. And that's what I recommend you to do. Choose what's important for you and devote time to this, because then your life becomes much nicer and you get much more satisfaction. Okay, ready for the questions? So guys, sorry, I have like this short break. It just finished. I have my coffee, so excuse me. I will be drinking in between answering.
That's not a problem at So,
good morning. Nice to meet you. We have presented our discussion and our topic about millennials. So we would like ask you a question about them. So do modern companies place a great importance on millennials as a part of their workforce?
Oh, sure. Each time companies are interested in the young workforce, so you don't have the choice to ignore it. But here you need to take into account whom you are talking about and what are specifics. For example, in Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus, we don't have many millennials. So number of millennials is much smaller even than the younger generation, Generation Z, which is born starting from 2003. And you are like 6 million less than them, and they're still being born. And you are much smaller in the number of here. And so for the companies, it's a challenge where to find the employees of the millennial generation. because physically there are no people. It's the specifics of the situation of the break of the Soviet Union, changes in the social political situation. So we have this situation, but in general in the world, there are lots of millennials. For example, South America, North America, Asia has quite many millennials to deal with. And so there they have the issues of no working places. We don't have this at all. So the issue, it's possible to find a job in Russia because we are lacking people, like physically, and the deficit is huge.
Thank you a lot for your answer.
So I've got a little bit controversial question, because I do my master thesis research about adolescent entrepreneurs, and when I planned that, I thought that it would be nice to write some theoretical input about Generation Z. So I have started reading, and I've read a lot, and I realized that there is a problem about actually specifying Generation Z. I cannot write a single line without hesitation, because there are many researchers, they speak differently, and many of actually those research are not research at all. They are just some statements. For example,
Exactly.
so there is a problem because and I've even seen a peer-reviewed article in which the author written that Generation Z prefers to talk by digital media even in the workplace. When they are in the office, they prefer to talk. And I've went through this reference, and in the reference, the research showed completely different results. So he was actually adding some completely different views to the research that was showing that they are really conservative. They want to meet face-to-face in the workplace. They prefer to do so. So my question to you is a little bit controversial. Do you believe in Generation Z?
We are the only, thank you for the question, because you raised a very important issue. The issue of falsification, this is number one. No proofs for the majority of the things, and like you said, these are not researches, these are statements. And number three, a lack of a skill globally to work on the borders of several sciences. So let me explain more. So at the moment, and this is would be probably shocking for you, we are the only team in the world which made researchers defining borders of generations. The only. And if you think that we were like super smart in the beginning, we are smart, believe. But we were also lucky, because when I made my PhD, I had to work and combine three big different sciences. My research was on psycholinguistics. And actually, making such research, you need to pass the exams. It's not a master's degree, it's like high level. So you have to pass linguistics, psychology, sociology, and you have to do it professionally in the three areas. The challenge is, in the end, still, even though you're working on the borders of those three things, you have to get like just one specialization which is written, which is definitely stupid. The issue with generations, with the generation theory, it's based on 5 sciences: economics, history of technologies, history, politology, and culturology. You don't see here psychology or sociology. And I respect those sciences a lot. I have one of my degrees in psychology, but from generational point of view, we can't get anything from psychology or sociology. These are very respectful areas, but working in the other area. So, but out of those 5 things, how to combine them? So this is the challenge, and that's what the majority of people research centers are having difficulties taking this. How to find the method of figuring out how to deal with the generations. And that's why there are lots of false statements without even any proofs. For example, Generation Z is born after 2003. We can't find this generation earlier because for their formation you need appearance when they are 1, 2, or maximum 3 years old, appearance of devices with a touchpad. And here, whatever you do, the only like the massive appearance of touchpad devices was in 2007, 2008. You can do whatever. There were no many touchpad devices before. So we can't get a generation, even though we try to call the previous. The majority of the researches is made on the millennials. For example, when we are making how we are defining the borders, we are using psycholinguistical method and also combining it with studies of economics and so on. So we are asking the teams, and this is only the group method, we are asking the teams being born in a certain year to keep in groups, agree on certain area, and then either draw or write some definitions. What is success? Who is a good leader? And blah, 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 all those issues. And what we are waiting for? We are looking. If they draw and write the same which was drawn and written before by the representatives of this generation. And it should be correlated in different cities. Small, like 10,000 people living there, big, like megapolises. And while they are drawing and writing the same, that means we don't have another generation. So we are waiting at least in the beginning for the small change. There should be something repeatable, but new, absolutely new. And then we are waiting for the big change. When we see a certain change which is repeated, but still we have quite similar, but something big, then we say the border generation comes. And so, for example, at first we were thinking that the border generation between millennials and Generation Z would appear in 1998. We made so many researches, and we were taking all the time one team made of those who were born in 1991 to 1992 and then 1998. These were absolutely the same pictures. And I would say the value of my generation, and I belong to Generation X, born 1964 to 1984, is professionalism. So we were trying to professionally catch, okay, now you're going to do something different. We never were able. But then they came 1999, and everywhere came the new thing which we haven't seen before. It was about friendship. And your generation, for example, never ever raised the issue of these friendship issues. And starting with 1999, we have this issue more and more every year, and this is a very important thing. So that's how you deal. So I can recommend, take now our data. You go to rootgenerations.su. We put these at first we put SU because we were studying the countries of the former Soviet Union. And now we need to switch to something new, but we have too much work to do. So it's always like, do we really need it? Because there is lots of data. You need the part, they are called Bystra or fast. And there you will get the dates, and that's the first place where we will correct all the dates. And the second thing, you will see also some values of the generations. So when they speak of people born during 1990s, all of them are millennials. All of them. So, and it's very funny because the values of real Generation Z are very different. And we see it already at the research when we have people born who are like 12 to 14 years old, working with millennials, and it's like, wow. Millennials always keep asking them, like, do you really believe that if you find the work you love, you will get money? The first time we got the questions, everyone was shocked. They do believe, and they will get. So, but you raised a very important issue that there are not many proofs. there is not many connections, and the majority, so I would be glad, Grzegorz, to get what you found, the data on the generations, everything like literature, and get some of their comments. But I would say at the moment, when people are asking us, or clients and corporations are asking us to give some data, I can't practically recommend anything. So I have to recommend us, so the founders of the approach, which were giving approximate data because their method was more based on economics and economic cycles. So this is like approximately when you are giving. But yes, it's very difficult, especially there are lots of interesting research, but the dates are taken in the wrong way, and then we get immediately the wrong interpretation. And if you get the wrong interpretation, you lose money. It's very simple.
Thank you very much. And actually, on the end of this Generation Z part of my master thesis, I would like to write that I cannot say anything from the data I was given. This is
inciting. Use us inciting, and you will see, like, we have the trilogy, and in the last books on millennial generation, we have a book in Russian, unfortunately, on millennials. And it's, unfortunately that it is just in Russian. We were thinking of making it also in English, but in the end, we especially put some of the researches we were making for corporations, but we have most of NDAs. Guys, NDA, non-disclosure agreement. So that's when we can't say, I can write, for example, company in pharmaceutics. Or company, FMCG company, or blah, blah, blah. And in very many cases, this is the task. So that's it. And I saw also, thank you. Welcome, guys. Any other questions?
Maybe one more short question, because Evgeny is so busy between really busy things.
I see. I would like to ask you to the presenters if they were in the position of policymakers. What did they initially do for the young entrepreneurs at the beginning of COVID-19? I can answer. Actually, when you are an entrepreneur yourself, you have, I was paying salary to my employees. It's very simple, because in my first crisis, when it was 2008, 2009, when I felt like the company founder and the owner and an entrepreneur. And I would say I paid all the money to the employees. I wasn't in debt. I gave to everyone. I didn't have anything to pay to me. So I lived on the money of my future husband. And I decided never, ever again. So I was really, and we were thinking differently. Now when we managed to do this, now when I have more experience and more, I would say, reputation, it's definitely different. But I would say crises are very challenging for all those people. And another thing which I did for Generation Y, guys, we started online courses. Online courses, online workshops, some for last year, exactly during the times of the pandemic. And there are courses on, I will give the link here, for the adults on the balance. And that's what I recommend you to go to. And part of the balance is, there are two parts. One is how we set it. And this is we ourselves. It's not like a psychology course. It's the course from the founder, from the entrepreneur. And I also have guests like me, like heads of the boards of directors, entrepreneurs. And I would say, I have two parts there. One, when you yourself set this balance and how you manage and you find solutions for you and kind of actually you adjust. It's not from the very beginning, so I believe you are doing things. And I recommend both for men and women doing that, and we have people of different generations. And the second part, which we will have in May, will be about what to do with your balance when other people interfere. And when, for example, I don't know actually the words, guys, can you help me with the translation? Lisa, maybe you help. Обесценивание, how do you say it in English? That's the term of millennials. I need the word in English, losing the issue, depreciation. It's about gossips and how they influence you. It's about the personal borders when other people are trying to cross it. Devaluation, I think devaluation is a bit better, but it's still, you see, you brought a special meaning. I made my PhD on psycholinguistics. I have a very good language feeling. And so I would kind of study this a bit. But that's something which is very difficult. And I think your generation, guys, if I can recommend you, just go and watch my TEDx speech, TEDx talk on Пойми Millennium. Understand the Millennial. We have it also with English subtitles. You go to the YouTube channel of Rude Generations, and for the foreigners, you will read it there. For the Russians, you will see it in Russian. But this is something about clarifying some of the things about your generation. So my part was to help in general Generation X and Generation Y to do this. And in general, I have helped the International Association of ISEC. This is Association of Students and who were originally from economics and management. Now they're wider, and I'm helping them to develop. That's my input. And I was helping for the I would say you choose what you do. For me, it's like professional volunteering when you are doing such things. And my professional volunteering, being a guest professor in Ranepa for the first year students and for a master's degree, because if you compare my price in real life and here, it will be like earth and the sky. But I think it's important. I'm very, I would say, grateful to people who invested in me and my development. And I think it's very important. And I want you to do the same like we were doing. But choose, it would depend upon you. I choose what I think is very good and important to do. Elisa, I know I switched off from generational topic, but I think it's very valuable. It's a lot about setting values in the society and about what you want to do. And I also participate as a jury member, appreciating, evaluating the programs which corporations and regions do for the involvement and development of young people, starting from school age, students, young specialists, and just a perspective for the future. Graduate awards. And also it's like, but guys, you will be doing when you're busy, when you have the company, you have the family, you have so many things, you will have to choose choose what you really care about. That's very important. But remember that in connection with the millennials, for the millennial generation, it's very important to see those people who are doing good things, because you are looking for those with whom you can make the world better. And I would say, and I would finish with this, we don't see many people who are doing this now. Your generation is missing those people. So, and I wish, So thank you. Elisa, would you let me go?
Sure. Thank you very much for your appreciated time. So thank you for coming. It was a great pleasure.
And I'm very glad the student Gaidar is going. I think it's extremely important because I recommend all the students to be volunteers at the Normal Gaidar Forum because we need to care about our countries. We need to make our countries, the world better.
Okay. I've got one question to Elizaveta, if we have like 1 or 2 minutes or not at all. Okay.
We're just out of time, 5 minutes, yes. So we really don't have any time, so sorry.
So thank you very much for this part and see you.
So see you, bye. Right, probably we can discuss it just in the end of discussion. So we will have some more time probably. So now we switch to another part of the discussion that is dedicated to consumer psychology. So our consumer behaviors are changing, so and we won't be the same. And Olga, my colleague, the speaker, will portray new customer. So Olga, can you just share your presentation?
Yeah,
Start.
sure. So first of all, it's nice to see you, your squares with your names. Yeah. So I'll start. The purpose of my study is to identify patterns of a new model of consumer behavior, and I've chosen analysis of publicly available literature and statistics as a method of my research. It may seem that this person does not trust anyone, that such a concept as loyalty is alien to him. He looks for profit everywhere and worries only about his own safety and stability. He is cynical, and as the days pass by, less and less guided by emotions. He is extremely concerned about his health, and to be honest, he's anxious a little too much. Not the most pleasant person, isn't he? But don't be quick to judge him. In a way, you and I are that person too. And before you have an existential crisis, let me tell you, this man is the collective image of the new normal customer. Over the past year, we have not noticed how we have changed. The purpose of this research is to get to know ourselves again as new normal customer through the analysis of statistics, empirical data, and insights of business representatives, to identify values, lifestyle changes, and to formulate patterns of a new model of consumer behavior. Please note the charts on the slide. It shows how many % of consumers have changed their habits since the coronavirus situation started. The percentage is higher in developing countries, but even the lowest figure shown for Japan is 30%. That's about 18 million people. Numbers in the column on the right are even more surprising. They reflect the percentage of respondents who are not going back to their old patterns of consumer behavior. So changes have really happened, in case anyone had any doubts, and the odds are we'll never go back to the way things were before the COVID outbreak. That is why it's crucial for businesses to get to know the new normal customer and learn how to get along with them. So first, trust issues. Against the backdrop of the global pandemic, the global economy is shaken. Prices are changing, stores are closing, everything has been forced online. The customer has not yet figured out how the new system functions. And the unknown is notoriously frightening and forces one to take a defensive stance. The chart on the slide illustrates that most consumers, about 2/3, are pessimistic or uncertain about economic recovery. This generates price sensitivity, which in turn generates the following patterns of behavior. Cutting back on non-essentials. For example, 2/3 of US shoppers said they cut back on high-end luxury goods, 1/3 cut back on cosmetics. Deal seeking, which means looking for promotions and offers, and cheaper brands, local brands, or private labels are preferred. The next diagram illustrates that value remains the main reason for consumers to try new brands as well as new places to shop. In addition to value, convenience and availability are most often cited as the main factors influencing consumers' decisions about where to shop, while quality and purpose, for example, the desire to support local businesses, are most important considerations when choosing new brands. But even trying new things, consumers are not looking for profit. They want to protect themselves and keep what they have. According to Simon Moore, CEO of behavioral science company Innovation Bubble, now it's not the time to launch new products or services. Instead of doing it, companies should focus on improving existing customer experience and removing inconveniences that may scare away anxious customers or the audience trying your offering for the first time because of COVID-19. Emotional shopping is losing ground to meaningful consumption and in the long run will take second place. And the biggest impact here is on grocery shopping, now called e-grocery. Most services are shifting to the on-demand format, the here and now format. This is changing the way of consumption as a whole, because there is no longer need for storage. This is one of those trends which will remain with us even after the economic recovery. Another new trend is home nesting. Here's a saying, staying in is a new going out. During the crisis, many people invested in improving their homes and gardens or bought equipment for new hobbies and activities. So along with food, the category that showed the highest growth in e-commerce in the US were bread bakers, equipment for strength training, computer monitors, craft kits, and so on and so forth. And another area consumer behavior has changed in most significantly is healthcare, which has now become more virtual healthcare. As COVID-19 led to global medical office closures and made consumers apprehensive about visiting healthcare providers, virtual health and telemedicine specifically accelerated dramatically in the United States and Western Europe. For example, in France, virtual visits increased from an average of 10,000 a week before March 2020 to 500,000 a week in late March 2020. And overall, the wellness trend has gained strength. More and more attention is being paid to healthy eating, hygiene, and sports, even if it's all staying at home. However, there's something more. The new normal customer is indeed a tough guy, but above all, he is a human being and he needs social interaction. Because of forced social distancing around the world, this need has not been fully met, and unfortunately, this is what it has led to. Mental health issues, along with suicide and domestic abuse, increased, non-COVID health issues increased, and alcohol consumption increased. So, if I may say, a seemingly unpleasant stranger turned out to be a nice enough guy. He's abstaining from luxury goods in the name of stability, enjoys discounts, supports local manufacturers, values his time and spends his money rationally, is engaged in self-development, looks after his health, and sad as it is, feels lonely. And we are all new normal customers. We are going through the same experience together, and together we hope that the negative effects will wear off as soon as possible and the next normal will happen. But for now, it's early to tell. That's all I wanted to say. Here are my references and my contact details. Thank you.
So thank you, Olga. Thank you for your performance, for your research. So yeah, that's true that all of us experience lack of social activity, and that's a dramatic change. So probably some of your colleagues have a question on it, on social interaction.
Yeah, hi. First of all, thank you for your speech. My question is that knowledge that you mentioned about new consumer behavior will be helpful helpful for all the companies, or only for that are large and have the resources to do something with this information and can be flexible and respond to these changes? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yes, of course, I believe this is relevant for most companies. And in my presentation, I showed numbers and a large percentage of consumers change their behavior in developing countries. So it's not always about access to marketing technologies. I think the difference is that for local companies, this knowledge is obtained empirically. because they're close both physically and in terms of mindset to their consumers, and there is an immediate response to changes. And for large companies, results of research are more important because they need to become closer to their customers and to get to know them. So that's the point, but I think it's still relevant for most companies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, so thank you. So we've started the topic of social interaction and social network, interaction with the companies and customers. And let me introduce our speakers on the topic of pandemic and social media influence on business. So Daria and Regina, IBS students. So let's start. Looking forward to hearing you.
Yeah, good afternoon, dear colleagues. My name is Regina Mahmutova and my colleague's name is Daria Glukhova. And today we're going to present you our research, Pandemic and Social Media, Business Threat or Opportunity. So the problem that we're going to address is the decrease of customers' attention to the brand. The aim of our research is to illustrate that social media is a good marketing tool during the pandemic, and we chose analysis of statistics and cases as a method of our research. Here is, you can see our agenda. We're going to begin with the social media usage. Then we will go through the users' attitudes to brands. Then we'll talk about brands' social media marketing experience, and we will present our outcomes.
Social media are an integral part of our life right now. In 2020, the pandemic began, and because of which everyone was forced to stay at home, limiting their contact with other people in real life. This has led to even more active use of social media of the internet.
So we analyzed the statistics of the usage of social media during pandemic and discovered some findings. In July 2020, there was a rise of 10.5% in social media usage compared with July 2019, according to a global Wembix survey. And the social media consumption and posting have increased during the pandemics. Another most, can we go to the next slide?
Another most notable example is the rise of TikTok. TikTok added over 12 million unique visitors in March 2020 alone, crossing the 2 billion download mark in April. And the majority of users are sticking to the platforms they know. But of those who have tried a new platform, the platform of choice has been TikTok. This should come as no surprise because Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube are the preferred platforms to use an escape or to use purely for enjoyment during these times, during the pandemic.
So here you can see the statistics about how female and male use social media for brand research. And you can see that almost 50% of female and male go to the social media to explore the brand before buying something.
Yeah, here also some statistics. The survey showed that most respondents think that social media is the most common channel from which they get information about the brand and its products. They also mentioned that most of their new purchases come from social media discoveries. Over a half said that social media plays a crucial role in impacting their decision to consider a brand, and that's it.
So taking a closer look at these social media use trends in the era of COVID-19, brands can learn a great deal about opportunities to boost engagement and business impact as the new normal continues to evolve. So here are several examples of how brands benefited the pandemic due to social media.
We would like to start with the megaphone. Megaphone was looking for a non-standard solution to stand out from unusual advertising integrations and increase reach among the Generation Z audience during the pandemic. TikTok has become one of the main platforms for achieving these goals, as we said, and the company's objectives were to conduct a viral digital activation with the involvement of bloggers, popular with Generation Z, to engage the audience of TikTokers and make it part of the project, as well as to provide a wide reach of social networks among the target audience aged 16-25 years. The company moved away from the usual format and created a UGC project. It is where TikTokers subscribers could become participants in the next issues. The project involved TikTokers interacting with their audience, and the total audience of subscribers was 32.5 million people. As a result of this integration, Megaphone received 300,000 tasks from subscribers and a total coverage of 8.7 million users.
Another great example is Getty Museum. It has been encouraging social media users to continue celebrating their love for art even during lockdown. So back in March, it launched the Getty Museum Challenge, in which it asks social media users to recreate their favorite artwork using just 3 objects found around the house. The challenge caught the imagination of serial art lovers and resulting in tens of thousands of responses across social media platforms.
One of the greatest examples of brand that has managed to take social media marketing to its advantage is the legendary video game brand PlayStation. The brand currently has about more than 20.6 million Twitter followers, and they created a Play at Home initiative, the hashtag, and PlayStation managed to incorporate the pandemic into the messaging by encouraging its followers to stay home and download its games for free. According to some reports, the brand even managed to get over 10 million downloads as a result.
And one more example of a brand that knows what it is doing when it comes to social media marketing is Nike. The brand is currently the largest sports brand in the world and has about 123 million Instagram followers. Nike is boosting its engagement on Instagram is that it tries to strike the right balance with its responses to the COVID-19 crisis. The brand cleverly uses emotional branding to keep its fans engaged by appealing directly to their emotional state and aspirations. In its Play for the World campaign, Nike uses the phrase "play inside, play for the world" to inspire its followers to unite in new normal. In other words, Nike grows its social media engagement by appealing to the needs of the audience.
To sum up, it is important to keep brand concise, creative, and consistent to build brand awareness and become recognizable quickly. There are no days off in the social media world, and the competition is ever increasing. Brands should respond actively to the new needs of the target audience by producing fun, positive content that drives creativity and weaves a sense of community. If they manage to do it, they are likely to see improvements in their customer engagement and brand sentiment, despite the difficult marketing environment. All the mentioned examples prove that during pandemic, social media is an outstanding business opportunity for every brand as long as it is used in an effective and original way. This is our context. Thank you for your attention.
So thank you very much. It was really interesting, really insightful, and consumer behavior. So probably some of your colleagues have questions, I guess.
Yes, hello, thank you for your presentation. And my question is, the social network TikTok is gaining momentum. How do you think will it be able to replace Instagram in the future and to become the main platform for creative promotion of goods?
Thank you very much for your question.
Yeah, I would like to answer it just to begin with my answer. Thank you for the question. Personally, I think, and I think Regina will agree with me, that this can be replaced because Instagram right now is not only about the enjoyment, but also about our lives. But in TikTok, I think there is a place only for fun content. So I think that they will work together side by side, but in my opinion, it can't be replaced.
I will also add that they have different target audience and they have different purposes as mobile apps. So when people use Instagram, they usually use it as search engine nowadays, and the TikTok is more for entertaining, as Dasha said.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So colleagues, thank you very much. Also, we have something more to finish the portrait of new normal customer. So it's associated with that fear of missing out that millennials face, that we mentioned that before. So our colleagues, Julie and Alexandra, did conducted research, and they will tell us something interesting about it. So I'm curious.
So hello everyone, my name is Julia, and together with my colleague Alexandra, we're going to present you our topic. So we've tried to reveal what actually Fomo is, does it still exist, and who suffers most because of it, and how it affected our everyday life and our decision-making process. So during our presentation, we're going to discuss briefly what is FOMO, how it became different in 2020, who suffers most, and how it influenced our behavior during the lockdown. So actually, have you ever heard about such a phenomenon as FOMO? I'm pretty sure that even if you hear about it for the first time, you have definitely experienced it, and probably not even once. Do you know that sinking feeling you get when you see other people on vacation while you're sitting at home? So that's FOMO. Jennifer Workin, a New York-based health and neuropsychologist, describes FOMO, also known as fear of missing out, as an anxiety that is provoked by the perception that others are thriving while we aren't, or that others are overall experiencing a better version of life. So it seems reasonable to assume that with the lockdown and overall coronavirus isolation, FOMO had to disappear. Everyone is locked, everyone is isolated, no travel plans for months ahead. And still the fear of missing out is alive and well known in lockdown, according to Walkin and other mental health experts. It has just changed the shape. So to begin with, in 2020, FOMO has demonstrated some unique and intriguing forms. For instance, Dana Phillips, MD in the Division of Emergency Medicine in the University of Toronto, has written an article for Cambridge University newspaper where she confessed that she suffered from FOMO while watching how her colleagues were battling with COVID-19 on the front line in hospitals while she was staying at home with her children. She said that she was so confused experiencing FOMO due to this fact, but she just couldn't help it. But even if we do not take into consideration such unique forms of FOMO, this feeling still exists, even though its usual triggers were cancelled, such as nice travels or amusing adventures and so on. So why is it so? Quite an easy and predictable answer: social networking sites. Face-to-face communications were minimized, but people, being sociable creatures, have transferred themselves to social networking. If we look at the statistics, there are almost 2.5 billion people, so more than a third of the Earth population registered in Facebook. And this whole crowd of people flooded into social networking. What is more important is that more than half of these people are millennials. During the lockdown, everyone and everything has moved to social networks. But people were flooded with different forums, online events, conferences, and so on. Thus, those that are exposed to internet and social networking the most, primarily millennials, have experienced the dramatic boost of FOMO. But let's not speak about any hypothetical people. Let's talk about us. Try to remember your first months on self-isolation, and especially hello, I've just joined some studying course. Hey, I've just read 4 books already, took part in 3 online courses, practice yoga every day with my yoga tutor, so enjoy quarantine. Do you feel something familiar? Isn't it the same itchy feeling that you are wasting time lying on the sofa while others are thriving? Or maybe you had a thought that you are missing out on something and that you have to enroll in some course just in order not to be left behind. We had the same ideas, and we were just interested to find out how massive was this boost of self-development trend, and we decided to make a small survey revealing whether people took part in any of these activities and what was the underlying force for that. The will to become better and learn something new, or it was just raging FOMO effect.
Let's have a look at the data that we have collected. Our questionnaire was filled by 493 respondents, the majority of which are men. Most of the respondents are young people aged from 18 to 23, 59% to be precise. Also, most of the respondents are students, and the majority of them is study management. All in all, the majority of our respondents are millennials, who are very much like us. So we were very interested to see whether our FOMO feeling were unique or quite in trend. We asked whether our respondents enrolled in any online courses. It turned out that only 60% of all respondents didn't take any online courses, while the rest, 84%, participate at least once. What was remarkable for us is that 23% of people took more than 7 courses. Here we have a really logical question. How many of these courses have you completed out? It turned out that only 20% of respondents have completed all the courses. With the cross-table analysis, we saw that all these 20% were those that took only 1 to 3 courses. This sounds quite logical, but what is more significant for our study is that almost half of the respondents, 46%, completed at least 40% of the courses they have enrolled in. So basically, people took many courses just in case and haven't even finished them. Some respondents remarked that they didn't even open some of the courses which they were registered. Probably people don't treat all these courses seriously as they didn't pay much for it. 43% spent less than 10,000 rubles on their courses. Remarkably, there were even 5 people that have spent more than 100,000 rubles, and 4 of them have answered later that they regret spending money on the courses, as well others 19% of respondents. One of the most interesting blocks of our questionnaire was dedicated to revealing in which information area our respondents made their decision to enroll in any online courses. 89% of respondents told us that their friends also took part in some courses and shared this experience in social networks. And 73% of respondents confessed that the overall buzz around self-development and online courses has influenced their decision-making. During in-depth interview with more than 30 respondents, we revealed that 20 of them got enrolled in at least one of the courses just for the ride, in order to keep up with their friends.
So to sum up, I would like to address to all marketing and advertising specialists. FOMO is your greatest friend and sales trigger. We all know the problem of consumerism in the modern world, and FOMO is one of the fuels that makes us purchase everything that we see. So if you are looking for a good slogan for your event or product, try something like, all of your friends are already with us, why aren't you? And if you are still doubting whether to put your effort in the online or not, I believe the answer became obvious for you. COVID-19 boosted online as never before, and this trend will hardly change in the near future. So if you don't want to lose your potential profits, keep up with the modern trends, and FOMO is one of them. So thank you for your attention. Here are our contacts, and here are our references. Елizaveta, your mic is off.
Yeah, so all presentations will be available after the conference. So you will have contacts of all speakers if you want to collaborate, coordinate with them for maybe future research, for other works, projects. So thank you very much. So a little comment by me. So I'm impressed by size of your sample. So you were very limited in time, but still you have such a large sample for the limited time. So thank you. I guess someone have a question for you.
Yes, hi again.
Colleagues, yeah.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And I've got a question. Do you think it is ethical to advertise on Fomo?
Very good question. Thank you. So, Alexandra, if you don't mind, I would like to add something here. So, yeah, that's a really good question. It might seem unethical, but in my personal opinion, it's quite okay to advertise on Fomo because I think it's unethical to advertise on something a person cannot change. So, for instance, when we are seeing some ads dedicated to overweighted people or to lonely people that are suffering from that, trying to make them buy this cream or this clothes or something in order to become prettier or something like that. So for me, that's more disgusting and more unethical. But if we're talking about FOMO, it's just the same trend as, for instance, for people willing to have a good family or to be happy or something else. So if we're advertising on some trends and on some basic feelings, I think it's quite okay. And furthermore, FOMO is something that is under our control. So actually, if a person has a strong own point of view and a strong will, this person can easily overcome FOMO and not to be exposed to all these ads and all this buzz around self-development and so on. So it just depends on us, and for specialists, it's just a good way, another good tool.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you. So as for ethics, let's start the third part of our discussion, organizational psychology, diversity, and new ethics. So it's not a secret that business and companies today try to respond to sustainable development goals. In this case, such as reduced inequalities in general and general equality. So SDG 5 and SDG 10. So, and our colleagues from Skoda University just want to share some experience from Czech and German companies from this perspective of diversity management and inclusion. So colleagues, go for it. Let's start. Hey, colleagues. Elena, Veronica, Stina, where are you? Probably you just mute your. Oh, so what's the problem actually?
If you hear me, but
yes, yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay.
That's right.
So, hello everyone. My name is Annette. Today, me and my colleagues Vercha, Lena, and Tina from Skoda Auto University would like to introduce you some issue of diversity and inclusion. So, first of all, we will tell you some general information about our topic. Next, we move to advantages of diversity and inclusion. And we also mention some examples from Czech and German automotive. Diversity and inclusion are currently one of the most mentioned words in recruitment, and interest in their meaning and application is increasing. When we talk about diversity, we talk about how to become more diverse or varied as a team. And it's a combination of different perspectives, whether these differences come from religion, gender, hobbies, or culture background. You are inclusive as a company when everyone in your team feels that they can bring their whole self to work, and when no one needs to hide any part of their identity for fear of being bullied. In an inclusive team, you celebrate the differences instead of making fun of them. Here are some arguments that may convince you that diversity and inclusion are the best investment to your business. Promoting an environment that welcomes differences will make you more flexible as a team. The more flexible make a team more innovative, which in turn will give you a competitive advantage. By promoting equal opportunities for all, you will strengthen the employer brand. People also like to connect with the brand they can identify with, and by practicing diversity and inclusion, you will set an example for other companies. There is an example from Czech Republic, which is a renowned Czech car manufacturer Škoda Auto. Diversity is an important component of sustainability strategy, and Škoda Auto emphasizes its commitment to equal opportunities for everyone. Bohdan Vojnar, Škoda Auto former board member of HR, said that Škoda Auto is clearly committed to a diverse, open society and lives and breathes this openness in its own company. By signing the charter, we are emphasizing our commitment to providing a working environment in which all staff are treated equally. So now my colleague Tina will continue with other German examples.
Thank you, Annette. Now I would like to talk about example in Germany. Audi is a German company, and at Audi diversity stands of pluralism for the integration of different ways of thinking, capabilities, culture, imprint, experience and competitions. Audi is therefore involved in several diversity initiatives. Audi is involved in the Chefche initiative, which committed to equal opportunities for women and men in the management. Audi is constantly striving to increase the proportion of women, especially in the technical division. Audi understands the issues of inclusion in the sense of full integration management. People's barriers should also be removed so that even those with disabilities get nature access to the world at work at Audi. Audi has been joined to the Proud at Work Foundation, which aims our accord with our self-image being open to all people, irrespective of sexual orientation, gender identity, or characteristics. Proud at Work champions equality for LGBT employees in the workplace. Next slide, please. BMW is a very progressive company. The company focused on all factors of the diversity. They realized that different societies would move that further and become more efficient. BMW is constantly striving to increase the percentage of women, supporting recent graduates, but also supporting seniors. In BMW plant, you can meet people from all over the world, but also people with disabilities. The company makes no secrets of the fact that it also supports the LGBT community and regularly participates in BMW Group Pride. In 2011, BMW took an active approach to diversity by joining the Diversity Chapter, a corporate initiative aimed at making the recognition, appreciation and integration of diversity part of the German corporate culture. My last example. Last example of the German car producer is Porsche, which has also been involved in diversity management and inclusion. It assumes that the companies have the same condition for everyone, regardless of gender, orientation, religion, or age. It has supporting program for graduates, but also programs for mother after maternity leave. Porsche has so many partnerships and initiatives, for example, chartered VFALT, Femtech, and Government. Now I would like to talk something about partnerships. First partnership is VFALT. Porsche is a signatory of the Charta de VFALT Corporate Diversity Initiative, which makes it one of around 3,400 companies and institutions committed to supporting and appreciating and non-discriminatory business culture. Next one is Femtech. Since 2001, they have been working together with Femtech, a career network that promotes and develops of young female skilled employees, managers in engineering and scientific fields. Government, Porsche is a partner of Mahmed, National Pact for Women in STEM Career, which encouraging girls and young women to study at work in the mathematics, engineering, and so on. Now, this is all from my side. I hope you know what diversity and inclusion is and how important it is in the company environment. There is our references. And thank you for your attention. Now is the space for your question.
So thank you very much sharing your European experience. And I guess that probably some of our colleagues, fellow speakers, have any questions.
Yes, I have a question. Thank you for your presentation. And my question is, what is your personal opinion about diversity and inclusion in general?
Okay, hello everyone. I would like to think about this, my personal opinion. So I think that both areas, diversity and also inclusion, are very important for the companies nowadays. And I think it's very important for companies in every kind of field. So not only for automotive companies, but also for any kind. And my person, I don't like when people are condemned for their skin or their religion or for their disabilities. And on the other hand, I think that there will probably always be some boxing, I can say, in our society, but these people should think about how they would feel if they got to the other side. So that's my personal opinion.
Thank you for your answer.
So thank you. Companies try to respond try to respond to any inequality in companies, but still everything is not that positive. And our next speakers, Elizaveta and Yulia, would tell you why it is still a problem and why is it a business issue. I mean, gender equality.
Let's get started. Good afternoon, everybody. Today, me and my colleague Elizaveta are going to deliver a presentation on a topic that is called Resistance to Gender Inequality. Why is that a business issue? Actually, the aim of our research is to prove that different forms of gender discrimination still exist in the workplace and to show how harmful for business they are. And our agenda for today is as follows. First of all, we will talk about where gender inequality is introduced. Then we will present some statistics. After that, we will discuss some interviews that we have conducted. And in the end of all that, we will tell why gender inequality is inefficient to businesses. Where gender inequality is introduced. First of all, it is professions and pay, then the application process itself, performance assessment, task allocation, meetings, and even caring responsibilities. Here on the slide, you can see a part of Gender Gap Report, which was presented at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland in 2020, which almost fully described the situation of gender inequality in Russia. As you can see, Russia is listed 81st out of 150 countries in this rating. It is demonstrated clearly on the scheme that Russia has some slight improvements in all spheres, but situation in general is not that desirable. Even though gender equality index in economy in Russia is somewhat better than the average, let's not forget that it is because the rating also includes Arab and African countries, and it has its impact on the average numbers. To add more, the first number considering gender inequality is in sphere of politics.
And so now we're going to talk about statistics that we found on a Russian site called Headhunter, where a lot of resumes are posted. And well, yes, it is quite noticeable that 51% of all resumes are owned by women and 49% by men. Also, it is very interesting that in some professional fields, there is a clear difference of resumes depending on their gender. So we're going to show some of these areas to you. First one is information technologies, and probably for some of you it would be quite expected actually. Yes, only 19% of women resumes are presented in this field, and 81% of resumes are owned by men. And a completely different picture you can see in accounting and finance, as here only 13% of resumes are owned by men and 87% by women. In science and education, well, there are also far more resumes owned by women, and the same picture in medicine. However, all in all, in all fields, only 30% of women apply for higher positions of top management. And yes, there's a big amount of men resumes there. Moreover, there was a survey held by Headhunter in 2013, and the result is that 63% of respondents believe that there are particularly men professions and female professions, and they're honestly suitable for these genders.
So also during our study, we have conducted 2 interviews by ourselves from 2 women working in different areas of business. One is hired as HR brand manager in a big transport company, and the other as a content manager in an IT company. Also, we have analyzed 4 interviews of famous businesswomen, which were published in Forbes magazine. Now on the screen, you can see the most memorable quotes from these interviews, and both of them, in fact, are the clearest demonstration of female gender socialization, which supposes women to take all the responsibility on herself, even when it is unfair. And therefore, we have 3 main conclusions. That should be on the screen right now. Yes, so the first one is about that the respondents almost directly mention all sorts of problems, but they think that everything is actually fine and as it should be. The second one is about that the respondents do not notice the contradictions in their speech, and therefore we understand that the model of thinking that is called learned helplessness. That is the belief that whatever we do, we will not get a different result. And it is embedded very, very deeply. And the third one is that also well-known businesswomen also talk about stereotypes and inequality in their areas of business, in their fields of business.
Yeah, so what was that research for? Why gender inequality is like a business issue? Well, I, as a future HR manager, can clearly say that this is a huge waste of human resources in the first place. If we talk about women, well, of course, they can benefit from adopting like some stereotypically masculine behavior at work, but at the same time, if they try to do so and assert power, they can face significant penalties. Then women who behave in a dominant way are less likely to be hired. And well, women have to avoid stereotypically feminine behavior to be viewed as competent professionals. Otherwise, they will be viewed as like flirty ones. However, we must say that men also face sexism at the workplace, well as traditional masculinity norms require men to avoid all these behavior that can be coded as feminine. Men who ask for help, show empathy, express sadness, or display any emotions receive lower status and pay and are less likely to be hired or even promoted. And the last but not least, fathers who apply for part-time jobs or wish to reduce their hours to provide care have also been found to face discrimination. So this sexism at workplace, it harms employees' performance as they are demotivated, sense of belonging, mental health as, I don't know, this emotional pressure is awful. And I don't think that we can even talk about job satisfaction when this issue still exists.
And so, to sum up, sexist behavior and practices, when frequent and normalized, have been shown to be as detrimental to employees' occupational well-being as sexual harassment. And in fact, it is the end of our presentation. Here on the screen, you can see our contacts. And if you have any questions, we are glad to answer them. Thank you for attention.
So thank you very much. It was so insightful. So I love this role because it is applicable for all of the presentations today. So I guess that some of your colleagues have a question.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. And I would like to ask you what steps could be taken to improve the situation on gender inequality in the workplace?
So in fact, there are two main things that comes to, thank you for a question also. And there are two main things that comes to my mind. The first one is about introducing some kind of gender quota, like to help women to win this imbalance. And the second one, to conduct fully anonymous interviews and some testing tasks during the process of hiring. So that's what I think would be a great help.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you very much. Our next speaker is going to tell you that diversity and inclusion in the company is not that easy. So it's not that easy topic, and probably it may be controversial in the context of business and HR management and company performance. So Marina and Susie, let's start.
Yes.
Go for it.
Hello again, everyone. My name is Susie Martirosyan.
And my name is Marina Kazantseva.
And our topic for today is controversy of tolerance and how has tolerance impacted the business. We suppose that our topic correlates with the previous topic, so we think that it would be rather capturing to look at this from the other angle. So here is our agenda. We'll talk about the tolerance and how it is misinterpreted. We'll go through gender quotas and positive discrimination, and then we'll look at some cases and draw the conclusions. So the issue of tolerance is rather dubious, and tolerance is considered to be a positive feature which facilitates our lives and defends our rights. But unfortunately, many companies restate the definition and determine themselves as tolerant only due to their unwillingness to go against the grain. So such an exaggerated wordness makes companies to keep ears to the ground only to the trend of tolerance and make the decision in favor of a person belonging to minorities. So talking about positive discrimination or positive action, you can see the definitions of both of them on the slide. And it is worth mentioning that the key difference between them is that positive action is lawful and it is aimed to establish equality in a company. Now let us move on to gender quotas. I guess that the advantages of them are obvious. However, there are some pitfalls of implementing gender quotas. They often bring about a state in which men, through gender quotas, men may have worse job opportunities, since in case there are male and female applicants for a job, chances are that the female applicants will have much better chances to get the job. And if women know that they will get a job due to their gender, they might be less motivated to work hard and efficiently. So conflict situations, disrespects, mutual humiliations, and demotivation may emanate from such situation. Now let us move on to the first case. This case tells us about a white heterosexual man whose name was Matthew Furlong, who was applying for a job in police. However, he passed the interview quite successfully. However, he got the mail from the police, which you can see on the slide. And one of the principles which police implemented for selecting among applicants after the interview was the following: anybody identified as female, Black, minority ethnic, or LGBT gets automatically a conditional offer. However, the courts proved that Matthew Furlong suffered positive discrimination, and this case doesn't deal with the definition of general positive action. Positive action in recruitment can only be used in a tie-break situations, and employers must establish that the candidates are of equal merit by assessing them against a set of criteria such as competence and professional experience.
So now we are moving on to the Coca-Cola case. Coca-Cola has come under fire after training seminar for their employees. After such images, Coca-Cola was accused of reverse racism and anti-white sentiment. We can mention that Coca-Cola's willingness to position itself as a tolerant company can have a negative impact on business. What is more, it can lead to the discord in a team because the feeling of inequality among employees occurs. There is no doubt that tension between people within a company can affect the whole company's activity. Conflict can cause members to become stressed, frustrated, which adversely affects their professional lives. So organizations can lose money, stakeholders, and access to essential resources. As regards the second case, it is the wages case. Female Black civil servant was paid £52,000 more than her white male colleague for doing the same job. Matthew Parr is suing the Home Office for sex and race discrimination, and as he has accused the government of seeking to avoid reputational damage. Ineffective business, detrimental HR management, and destructive team building emanates from such an aggressive quest for keeping up with the trend of tolerance. Such things can result in high staff turnover, since the organization members will not be satisfied with such unfairness. Furthermore, people who are discriminated are likely to be demotivated as they realize that no matter how hard they work, their salary won't be increased. What is more, when companies chase for reputation predominantly and give priority to public opinion in the short term, companies are exposed to a variety of losses in the long term. And finally, Sephora case. One of us has become a part of a very unusual situation in one of the most popular retailers of beauty products. Once we attended the shop, we noticed really versatile and diverse employees of different ages and genders. And in fact, it shows us positive action involved in the recruitment process. We needed help from one of the consultants. A man who was approximately 50 years old came to us, but however, due to his scarcity of competence and expertise, he didn't manage to help us and couldn't answer our request to find the applicable cosmetic product. Initially, a consumer whose needs were not satisfied will not appeal to the company again as he didn't get what he wanted and is likely to switch to the competitors, and it will probably affect the revenue of the company. And secondly, incompetent employees significantly influence the company's goodwill. Particularly after such case, Sephora will be perceived as a company with incompetent employees who cannot offer high quality service. So to sum up everything that has been stated so far, here you can see the points which emanates from such an aggressive quest for keeping up with the tolerance. And the best scenario for a company is to assess candidates not only bearing in mind a person's expertise, competence, skills, and qualifications, but also personal peculiarities. It is crucial to find a middle ground and keep ears to the ground in order to understand and respect both customers' and employees' needs and singularities. Thank you so much for your attention.
So
Here are contacts and references.
So thank you very much. It was really interesting. So another flip of coin on this topic on new ethics and controversy of diversity and inclusion politics policy. I mean company policy. And I have a feeling, no, I'm sure that Elizaveta and Yulia has a question for you or questions. So.
Yeah, actually I do. So we have been speaking about like controversy of tolerance, and well, does tolerance need to be like eliminated or avoided, and if not completely, then to what extent and where should limits of tolerance be?
Thank you so much for an interesting question. So from our point of view, the tolerance doesn't have to be eliminated simply because the tolerance as a concept is a positive action. And unfortunately, nowadays, companies misunderstand and misinterpret the meaning of it. And consequently, they go radical.
And I would like to add that
Okay, thank you.
Nowadays it becomes not the part of the corporate culture, but some companies use this the trend of tolerance as a tool for their brand image.
Okay.
So that's it. Can't believe that. Can't believe that. Julia, probably you have something to ask. You have 5 more minutes.
Oh,
that's a luxury for you. Time management guts. I am a time management gut.
I just, it's about that I have quite a tricky question, in fact. It's about my personal opinion. So, like, first of all, girls, thank you for a very interesting presentation. And in fact, my question is about the concept of reversed discrimination that you was talking about, because I believe that discrimination is not like something momentarily, and it is something that happens through the whole world history. So discriminated group simply could not become a discriminator all of a sudden. And thus, don't you think that the whole concept of so-called reverse discrimination is a bit incorrect or something like that?
Thank you for your question. I would say that nowadays people think that tolerance refers only to minorities, but it is compulsory to bear in mind that not only minorities can be discriminated. So each person can suffer discrimination, and it is imperative to maybe to not to prioritize somebody, but to provide equal opportunities and to provide equality. but not prioritize.
Furthermore, it doesn't happen out of the blue. Every year, the quest for being a tolerant company is growing in a geometrical progression. So nowadays, it has become more like a trend, but a part of a corporate culture.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. It was really interesting. So and let me introduce an expert. So he will share his expert opinion on influence of new ethics on HR management and on corporate policy. So Dr. Emil Velinov, so from Ranepa University of Applied Science, Riga, Latvia. So, Emil.
Hello, yes, hello everyone. I was listening with great interest some of the student presentations which I was listening because I joined sometimes in the middle. And I am first, before I start presenting myself and standing up here in front of so many really students and as I see here, mainly female-dominated audience. I am very honored, of course, as well to to show my point of view on the new business ethics in the new normal world business life. So I'm very, really, how to say, not only honored, but nicely surprised to see that how constructively here the students are, showing their presentations, the arguments, their interesting findings from their research and the insights which they're bringing to the community. And I'm questioning myself and really asking, I think these presentations, I think these interesting speeches needs to really to reach our academic, environment. And I'll be very happy, of course, if more and more academicians, practitioners, look through these, particularly your performance, because that's a very, very contributing, very interesting and insightful, and it's very much related to the business reality. So really, I would say big bravo, very well to all of you. And now it's my honor, of course, to show and to share very short presentation, but it's more about the awareness when we are speaking about how the new ethics transform our, workplace and businesses worldwide. So from the beginning, I represent several universities, Ranepa University of Applied Sciences, also Skoda Auto University from the Czech Republic, and Ranepa University of Applied Sciences in Latvia. I am an international scholar in international management, diversity management. For my, I would say so far, 15 years career, I spent around 7.5, 8 years in a big multinational corporations like Oracle, General Electric, and who are bigger. At the moment, as I said, I'm serving as assistant professor at the Department of Marketing and Management, where I have the big pleasure actually to conduct student project with several of my students, master students, who actually today delivered very interesting presentation on diversity inclusion in the Czech and German automotive firms. So speaking about the topic, how the new ethics transform, the workplace and business, we have heard a lot about, how nowadays in the different countries, the working mode has changed or at least transformed into hybrid, particularly work from home as well. So more and more, employees are having their, having the opportunity to deliver their, assignments, to deliver their, particular activities, business activities from remote parts of the world. Nowadays, there are quite a lot of questions in terms of, from HR perspective, which are, touching very delicately, I would say, ethics, particularly business ethics. Because the business ethics very much shifted towards a way where particularly multinational companies, by being globalized and deglobalized, reaching so many markets, they have new, let's say, challenges when it comes to what is moral and what is amoral. What I mean by that? I mean by that when we are speaking about moral and immoral aspects of corporate life, that these multinational companies, of course, they function in variety of markets. We have a lot of, first of all, legislations, laws, which are, of course, setting the framework of what is immoral and what is immoral. On the other side, we have also social norms. We have heard that there, a lot of different, nations, they have their own stereotypes. We have heard a lot about discrimination, about, the gender, the pay gap, the gender inequalities. We have heard a lot of things, for example, beside the remuneration of the employees from gender perspective, also about the age, about the disabilities. We have heard very interesting, a lot of dimensions of diversity. But speaking here about the business ethics, the new business ethics, I have to refer, first of all, that one of these sub-aspects of this new business ethics is basically carrying out the accountability and responsibility. Because during the pandemic, as I said, majority of us, are working still from home. A lot of these interactions going through all these platforms, but actually Zoom or Microsoft Teams or any other platforms, they are only the means or the platforms how we just conduct our, let's say, business negotiations, the way how we teach, the way we how deliver trainings. But actually, when we are speaking about the interaction, when we are speaking about the social interaction between people, building the business relationship through, the face-to-face contact, but also, all these moments when, the people are meeting at the conference face-to-face, when the people are meeting, on these huge symposiums, including, of course, the student, I would say, student forums, as this one is, student Gaidar forum. We are really lacking in these online platforms those, I would say, specific moments where we are spontaneously, meeting the new counterparts, where we are meeting, the new, I would say, colleagues, friends, and all these, stakeholders who are from our industries or even from industries which are related to our industries, where we are sharing, common challenges. We can face-to-face exchange a lot of information to find ourselves in that. Now in that pandemic, of course, by having remotely working, mainly a lot of people of us make our own interpretations. We behave in a way that, of course, hearing, let's say, virtual gossips from the companies, from the corporations. We are hearing a lot of, let's say, inflow information, which is, only virtually delivered. Also, we tend not to travel that much to the headquarters, to the core of our business, where our top management is. We are lacking that, I would say, face-to-face dialogue. I would say dialogue which is led in a very much friendship mode. It's very much in a very even informal mode. I know that, of course, we have a lot of opportunities nowadays to have, so-called virtual coffee meetings. But on the other hand, this is really the lack of these social interactions, physical interactions. They are, affecting imminently how we people perceive, first of all, the world of completely turbulences and even, I would say, short-term uncertainties. So in this turbulent world where we tend to make, our own interpretations, a lot of information we are receiving, from the corporate life, from the global world life, and we need to assimilate, we need to connect it with our reality, how we are functioning. So I would say here that it's very important, not only nowadays, but how in the close future, the accountability and responsibility of the employees, of ourselves, will be developing. What I mean by that? I mean that we need to be more accountable and more responsible, because we cannot, of course, excuse, with a maybe poor technical connection. We cannot excuse with limited data of internet at home. We cannot excuse that, for example, we cannot reach, our offices. But we simply have to deliver, because you understand that speaking about sustainable business, of course, speaking about corporate life, then of course the companies will not ask you many times, they will ask you rather, did you perform or did you not? And if you don't, of course, you need to, if you bring these excuses with the COVID, if you bring these excuses, I would say with that, what you consider personally as an ethical, moral explanation, very likely that the companies will not hear you anymore. Why? Actually, the question, because actually the ethics when we are working from home differ. I would say not even slightly, but they differ, drastically from the business ethics when we are in the offices. Because, as I said, in this hybrid model or model from work from home, these interactions and these relationships are maintained on a different values. Because the people nowadays, as we are pressed so much from the, spend time in front of our notebooks or whatever, tablets, and, we are very much pressed by the fact that we have to continue to deliver results. And when, of course, ecologically, the effect on our personality, on our behavior is so big, then we are struggling, of course, to sustain. So, of course, we all, believe that this, I would say, pandemic, of course, will be more or less ended all over the world. But what is more important is that we would like in this new normal to have really ethics, which means that they are corresponding not only to the social norms of the countries, not only to our traditions, but also ethics which are needed to be corresponding to the real business life in this so another thing is what we have to refer is that what has changed basically across the employees' ethics during the pandemic. So we have to say that what has changed here, particularly in the business ethics across the employees, as I said, that a lot of employees will be mainly, saying, okay, they will be excusing with the COVID, because we understand that COVID is very, very serious, of course, matter. But on the other side, we should not be overshadowed by COVID and to say that our excuses are really mainly COVID for not performing or for not conducting. But on the other side, we would like to sustain our social relationship, which is very much difficult in this, I would say, in this, work from home. And here I have, the last slide here, which I would like to say is about that the companies, of course, nowadays, particularly in COVID, they accelerated developing their code of conduct, ethical codexes in order to refer to these, I would say, employee behaviors, employee approaches, how they see the life. But it's very important that these codexes are adapted to according to the situation. It means that they have to take into account, of course, the lack of these social interactions. They need to be taken into account that a lot of employees spending, their working hours from home, remotely. And here the role of the leadership in the, I would say, atypical leadership is huge, because the leadership is basically the top management, those skills and soft skills, which are the leadership skills, which are steering these social interactions that they need to be kept and they need to be sustained. So it means the leaders needs to really to affect, I would say, the employees, or to give these employees the maximum space and environment to unfold their skills and competencies. But on the other side, to have this individual approach, to be inclusive, to be, of course, working with diversified employees. But not lastly, as the student today mentioned several times, it's to focus on the equity, because equity means, according to the situation, to see who needs the help and who needs the support in these tough moments. So yeah, I would stop here. Thank you so much. I think exactly I try to keep that 10 minutes. Thank you, and I'll be very happy to, if you have any criticisms or any points here, because I know that here that's a student forum, so I'll be appreciating. Thank you.
So Professor Emil, thank you very much. So I guess that we are running out of time.
Okay.
So,
okay.
So
I
we just
understand.
we just didn't have enough time for questions from students, but it was brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
So thank you, dear audience, dear speakers and experts. I hope that you enjoyed this discussion. Thank you very much for participating. So it was a great pleasure for me to moderate such discussion. So have a nice day. Have a lunch break on our conference. So we just a kind of stealing some minutes from your lunch break. Sorry for that. So thank you very much. Bye.